Right, this is for the signal box. We made the signal levers. A couple of you had shown pictures of them. I'd asked how we did them. It's really simple, nothing complex. All we've got to do now is just literally go through the bits what I used and make one, and you can see where I went from there. We're using a piece of 3mm Foamex, a piece of brass wire, about 1/8 I think it is, it doesn't really matter, or whatever it is, and then a piece of 40 thou plastic card, and that's all I need, and that's as simple as that. So the first thing I'll do is cut off a base. So if I do it the same size, you can see where I went. So I've got 5 inches. I'll literally just draw a 5-inch line. Curved blade for all of me cuts. And cut it through. Measure the depth, which on there was 1 3/8. An 1 3/8. So I just cut that through. And then what I did was I rubbed the end of this down to give it a round edge, so it's a bit flatter. So it's got that curve on it, because most times they put the feet on there to pull the levers. So I'll do that bit. We did 3/16 pieces there, so we'll literally measure 3/16 pieces. 1, 2, 4. Again, in a real signal box, these would be curved, so it would be like an arch, but I'm not going to go that far. And then there was 1 inch long, so I can draw 1 inch. And I've got 1, 2, 3, and I only need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So if I do another couple more, that'll give me all the bars I need. Again, I'll just run down each line. And then chop them off. And then I marked them at 1 inch, and there's the first one at 1 inch, there's the second one, and there's the third one. That bit can come off, don't need that one. I cut some slightly so it's easier to work with, and I tend just to cut them off then at freehanding. That's 2. I mean, you can do this with a ruler. It's what you get used to. It's just practicing it. We're all different. I'm quite happy just back in the groove and just cutting through it. And then just literally chop them into pieces. You've already got your line. and that's all your pieces for the base. So we'll push them to one side, and then we'll measure this part, and I did that at 1/4 of an inch. Right, so I've drawn all my lines down at 1/4 of an inch to give me the levers. I've then scribed it with the scriber, and then drawn a thinner line, to me probably about just under 1/8 of an inch on that part. So now you've got to scribe that one. So the easiest way of doing it is this one. We need a reasonably thicker scribe, so it's scribe and back into that one and cut. Like that. And then you can turn that one over on the other side. You know where your line is. Drop it on again, just on a 1/16. You can put a thinner one in if you feel as though it's easier. Like so. And then a thicker one like that. Pencil line in so you can see where it is. And that gives us the shape for the rod at the back. So now what I do with each one is I round off this bit. So we're just rounding it round, and the same on the other side. And that's as simple as that for that one. So we've now made the rod, which goes in like so. So you now cut them to length, whichever length you want. I did mine at 2 inches. So if you cut one at 2, you could cut all of them at 2. It'd save you fiddling. 2 would give me, yep, more than adequate. So I draw 2 inches on there. So you've got your height of them all. Throw that bit away, we don't need it. So then it's a repeat of what you've just done. So you're drawing a line. You're opening it up a little bit. Maybe easy to do it while it's all in one. Turn it over. You can see where your line was. A thinner one. And a thicker one. Then we're going to rub them edges round. The same with that one. Like so. And then just cut that one off. And that's that part there. Well, it's that way around, sorry. Like that. Then what I do, so you cut as many lever frames you need. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Well, I've got 13, so I'll cut all them off and put them to one side, and you can see them all in the same pile as well. So the next stage is we've rounded all them off, we cut them all off, all the pieces, 13 of them, the same as that. And we're now going to take off 1/4 of an inch off the roundy bit at the back. So we're literally marking 1/4 of an inch, popping it through your knife into the groove, and we're cutting a small piece off like that. So we now cut all of those exactly the same, and then we'll carry on. Right, so I've cut all these all to the same size again. We've cut 1/4 of an inch off the back, so that's the bar at the back. Now we've cut 1/4 of an inch, so we've left a square tube there at the end. So all 13 are now done like that. Right, the next stage is to cut some 3mm plastic card. So we're going to mark 3mm on here, and cut also some of those. Obviously this is the handle part, so it's just thin strips we're cutting off. So it's nicely lined up. This one I tend to use a straight blade. I find it just that little bit easier with plastic card for some reason. Don't know why. And again, multiple passes is the easiest way. I'll cut one. That went a little bit astray. Well, I've cut more than enough, I should be alright. Make sure we keep the one. Being lazy, I should have stood up in the first place. Don't like that one. Yeah. Yeah, just laziness on my behalf. And now we're going to form the handles for it. So we're looking that length. So we're going to mark off there, roughly where I was.
So what does that measure?
Whatever you want it to measure. It's about an inch. Yeah, it's an inch. So if you cut inch bits, I generally do it just with a little bit of sandpaper or emery paper. Just round off one end, get your piece of thingy, and that just goes like that, and then we can just bend that back to form the handle. As simple as that. So I've got all them cut, and then we're ready with the next part. Right, so what I've done now, we've cut these pieces which will make the handles. I've cut so many little pieces of brass. I've rounded off the top on one end with a small file, just to give it that round look like this on theirs. So now we're going to do a few of those. So I've got that. I'm not quite got enough wire to do them all, but I'll make the 3 or 4 that I've got, and then you can see from there. So it's just a simple. Right, so I'm just going to mark myself a little piece of plastic card again. This time I'm doing it at 1/4 of an inch. So again, stand up to make sure you do the job properly. And that's that one. And what we're doing then is we're going to cut a 1/2 inch. That'll help me with it. So I'm going to mark it at 1/2 inch all the way down. And again, you want as many levers as you're going to put in. And the particular one I made was 13, so I'll draw up to 13. And then again, just to round them off. The first one, I'll take the corner off, like so. Now you could actually leave them these diamond shape, but on mine I'm going to have them round. A lot of them I've seen them square, I've seen them all different shapes. So you just round that edge around carefully with a bit of emery paper, a little bit of finer, make all little bits off, chop that one off, take the corner off that, same on that side, and then again just literally take the round corner off, take the round corner off, a little bit finer, and again you need 13 like that. Right, next I'm going to cut off just a little bit more plastic card. I've done this at 3/16. And I'll cut myself 2 strips and then it'll save me. It. And now all we need to do is to cut these into 1/4 inch little squares, and then we're ready for assembling. So I'll cut some of these into quarters, and just mark them quickly, cut some off so I can show you assembly. That's it, so we've got some little bits there ready, and that's all the bits. So you've got the base, we've got the spacers, we've got the levers, we've got the handles, we've got the fascia, we've got the actual bar for pulling it over. That goes on the front, and these just form the top. So what we need to do now is we need to drill a hole to match this piece of rodding. That rod was in metric, is that 2.4 millimeters? Yeah, it will be, won't it? 2.4 mil. So I mean, it's whatever thickness you fancy. You can buy this at your local model shop. So just get you a couple of pieces of that to make that. Right, so we've got all our parts more or less ready. Now we're going on to assembly. I use these little pliers, they're about 1/4 inch. So I just put a slight bend in it, not a massive amount, because it's only a small lever. A little bit of super glue, pop that on there. And then just wait for that to dry. That's it, so we'll pop in that like so onto there. And then what we're going to do then is we're going to go around the top. So the first one, a little bit of super glue there, a little bit of this onto there. Just get it so it's nice and level, little bit tricky. Once you've got one on, you can sort of work your way around it. Make sure you level at the top. I'll just give that a spray because it does speed it up just slightly for me.
Is that like a collar?
Yeah, you're just making a collar on the top. That's it, that's the first piece on. You got that nice and neat. Turn it over and just trim this front bit over so it's nice and level. You can trim that at the back just carefully. As near as you can get it is better. And then we've got, that's the first piece. Exactly the same on the second side. A little bit of super glue. Not a massive amount because that does slow it down for the drying. So keep it as low as you can. Again, just get that in position. It's nice and level at the top and at the back, like so. Turn it round, chop that one off, and then we're going to go same across the back. Not too much super glue though. Again, we're going to drop a piece on. Don't matter if it overlaps either side. Press it on. Give it a little squirt. Save all that waiting time. You're then waiting for it to dry. You trim them two off. So now you've got a nice, neat finish. You can touch that up with a file if you feel as though it needs it. And keep that in line for you. And that's your first part done.
I'll just get a close up of that.
And that's that like that as a collar. You've got your handle. Just keep it nice and thingy. I rounded one of these off. And then what we'll do is we'll just pop a drill into there. Just so we can get a hole in. So we're going to basically go for the centre of there. Pop a little mark in. And this is where I do benefit because obviously I've got a pillar drill to drill this. If you was going to do it with a tiny little drill, I'd probably thin your wire down a little bit and just go in, you know, not so far, keep them as short as you need to, so you're not drilling excessively deep. But I'll use this one because that's what I used on there. I'm pretty sure I used 2.4. Yeah, I did 2.4, and it looks quite reasonable. But to go slightly thinner, there is quite a few wires available. There's one at 2mm, which might be a little bit easier to get a drill, so I'll maybe get the 2mm version, and it still look quite good. 2mm would probably be easy because you'd have a 2mm drill to suit to. So I'll do them in the 2mm one, and then you can see it easier. So I'll go find a 2mm drill, and I'll drill some holes and pop that bit in. Right, so I've marked the top, just a little mark in the top so it gives me the centre of that with me scrubber. Pop it on there, keeping hold of it. And there we are, we just popped a little hole in the end of there. Right, so I've drilled a 2mm hole in there, only 1/8 of an inch deep, or what, you know, whatever you think it should be. You don't need to be going in miles. We're not going to be pulling on these levers; they're not real. Then pop our little bit of brass rod in, get it nice and square. So it's looking square at the front, square at the back. You can ease that back if you feel as though it wants to go back a little bit further. Don't get glue on your hands like I've just done. Give it a little bit of a squirt. When I put the glue in the hole, obviously it was a bit too much. Let that dry for a second, and then it is then literally a matter of gluing the front piece on, which is just there. Again, keep your super glue down to a minimum. Super glue works better when there's less of it. The more super glue, the longer it'll take to dry. Get that so it's level and you're happy where it is. So I'm quite happy with that one. Just, oops, no, yeah. Try again. That's it. Just there. Do me nicely. And that's our first lever made. Now that really is simple. I'll just spray that. Let's set it up a bit quicker for me. It's as simple as that. So now we're going to make, I'll make another one, and then you'll see how I've done it complete. And then to get the angle, you either cut it backwards or forwards if you want the lever on or off. So the next stage really is I'll quickly make another one, and then you can see how that goes. So we start off with our piece. We take our handle, use our little bit of our pliers. My little flat ones are just about perfect. A tiny bend in it. Don't do it too hard else you'll break the plastic card. We put a tiny little drop of glue on here. I'll just give this a squirt because it will speed it up. We'll pop that on there, like so. Making sure it's nice and level and in line. You can just adjust them and press them down with a little, so you get it nice and neat. That looks quite nice. That's right, I wonder what that was. You can see I'm using out bits of Foamex, so I'm not even using out really worth having, it's just a piece of spare what we've had. So the next stage is just a little bit on there. Drop our tiny piece on the top. Level it up with the back. Like so. Make sure it's nice and level at the top. That's it. It's a little bit fiddly. Yeah, it's a modeller's enjoyment. It's like when somebody says to me, your Foamex buildings might only last 10 years in the garden, they might go brittle. And it was like good news for me, because at the end of the day, if I stop building, because I've done all the buildings, what's left in model railways? So, yeah, if they all go brittle in 10 years, I'll be more than happy. It means I've got to do them all over again, and we'll have a different village again all over.
Well, our railway will change.
Yeah, it makes it more fun.
Lots and lots to do, even now.
Yeah.
We're only like about halfway.
Yeah, more than likely, not much further.
If you get a little bit fed up of one scene, just recreate another.
Yeah.
Never stops.
The fact that it's never endings pleases me. I quite like the idea. I'll just quickly, stick that one. Not to be table like. That's it. That's it. A couple of seconds to dry. Trim that off. Same on the other side. I mean, the idea is not to do them as quick as I'm trying to do them. It's to take your time. Keep them nice and neat and tidy. Again, just rounding the edges off. Again, the more time you spend on these, the better. Pop it in just to see how far in you need to be. Roughly about there. So I'll take it out, turn it round, snips, chop a piece off. Make sure you put the other end in, not the bit where you've just cut off. Get it to where you want it. Reasonably level with that one. Need to ease it out a little bit, just ease it out. Tiny bit of super glue in. Pop it back in. Keeping it level with that one. Making sure everything looks reasonably square on the front. The same again. Little touch of super glue. Don't overdo it. Take one of your little collar levers so you can see what you're doing and what number is it have on it. Again, line it up so they look pretty reasonable. Keep them nice and neat. And that's another one made. Right, so first little piece. Make sure it's all nice and neat. Bit of glue on the back. Drop it on that corner. Like so. And then we need to make sure it's dry, because for the next one we're going to pop in. Don't stick. I'm not going to stick the lever frames in at first, because you need to paint them, so just putting them in a little bit thing at a time. So we need to get that gap. Little piece on the back. Give yourself something just to guard. Get it level. See, I've got glue on my fingers now. I'm very clever. That's it, just so that goes in nicely. You do get a bit of glue on it, you know what I'm like, clean it off. Tidy them up. I'll just activate that so it gives you a little bit cleaner, quicker, so I can do things quicker. Make sure everything's nice and neat. That's it. And then our first lever, we could have it on the back. So you look at the angle you want to get it at. That's roughly where I was. So you could draw a line just as a guard line. You see a bit of Foamex so it's not squishing out at the back. Drop it on and just cut that corner off. And then that one, centre of the frame, will go like that. And that, your next one, you just work your way along in line or behind or forward, whichever you want to do.
So you cut the corner off so it leans?
Yeah, just so it goes the right shape. So then to follow it, I'd just mark every one I'm going to do, just take off the same corner, you know, just so you don't get any different shapes. And then work your way along, put your next one in. So you're going to do another little piece. Drop that on there. That's it. Just check it for your thickness. It's a little bit too wide. You're better off having to squeeze it in as what you call being slack. That's it. And then you've got that one. And that one already in the blocks, ready to be glued in. And that's it, as simple as that. Takes a little bit of a while because you've got quite a few to do. Like I said, it's just not, it's not tedious, it's monotonous because you're doing the same thing over and over. But to do this, I would have thought you could do most of them in a couple of hours, 2 or 3. So in a night you should be able to make a lever frame up, and then it's just a matter of painting it. We did blue signals for points, red for signals. Blue levers is points, red is signals, and black was locking bars, as far as I can remember. But again, it's your own way you do whatever colour. There was white ones, there was yellow ones. Every different railway had different colours.